and welcome back to my channel, Sunshine and Lorena. Guys, this is the return of the spooky vibes intro that I used in Summerween, because this is going to be a spooky recommendations video for recommending all the books that I think are great for spooky season as we're heading into it. And yes, I have my cup of tea because I'm going to be doing a lot of talking, and yeah, definitely need to stay hydrated. But also look, how cute is this like pumpkin mug? I got it from Poundland, so it's only £1, which is amazing. Got a little pumpkin there, another one there. I love pumpkins, and I still haven't had my first pumpkin spice latte of the season. Like, I've not went to Starbucks for one. I have pumpkin spice syrup, but I've not went and like got one, and we need to sort that ASAP. We need to. So without further ado, let's start getting into these recommendations. I do have my computer here because I have a list and I don't want to forget all the books I want to recommend to you guys because I don't have all of them physically. So yeah, I don't want to forget any. These books are mainly kind of horror, light horror, not like you're not going to sleep at night, because yeah, I've never read a book that it's gonna gave me nightmares, you know, like I couldn't sleep at night. So they're not like too intense, but the right amount. But like some thrillers, like maybe a little bit of like dark fantasy, like yeah, mystery vibes, you know, those type of ones. Okay, so the first one that I'm going to recommend is one I read last October, and it was one of the first horror books I read, and that is Things We Lost in the Fire by Mariana Enriquez. This is a collection of short horror novels. I quite like this cover. Just first of all, let's appreciate the cover. So yes, this has been translated from Spanish into English, and this is actually, it's the first book of hers that's been translated into English, but it's not the first collection of horror short stories that she's done. Earlier this year, they released The Dangers of Smoking in Bed, which is another collection of short horror stories, but it was written before this one, which I have in my Kindle and I want to read very soon because I really enjoyed this one. Our author, she is from Argentina, and yes, you can definitely, it's set mainly in Buenos Aires, and yeah, it's really good. It's really creepy. You got different vibes from different stories. It's set in, like, you know, post dictatorship Argentina. You feel like those that being brought in, like links to that period of time. Yes, and I'd say my favorite story in this collection was The Neighbor's Courtyard. Like, that was creepy. Like, at the end, I was like, you know, when I walked out the door of like my bedroom, I was just like looking like this. I'm not gonna say why, but like that very last bit, I was like, that could actually happen. Not the whole thing, but you know, that last bit. But it's such a great collection of short stories, creepy and so many different vibes, well written. I really enjoyed this. Next up, which I don't actually own physically, that is Mexican Gothic. Again, read it last October, and yeah, a lot of people did read it last year, and I have seen some people now, like on their TBRs, they have it on there. It is like a horror, there's historical vibes in there, and it's like Gothic horror, I'd say. It's not like, yeah, it's Gothic horror. It's set in the 1950s. Oh, sorry, it's by Silvia Moreno Garcia, in case you didn't know, because I definitely didn't mention the author's name. It's set in the 1950s, and our main character is Noemi, and she's like glamorous, she's like a debutante. She's like, you know, she's in the city, like she's going about her life, sorry. And then yes, she receives a letter from her newlywed cousin asking for help to save her from some mysterious goings on. So Noemi ends up going to where her cousin is living, and it's called the High Palace. Now her cousin lives with her husband and his extremely strange English family. So I can't remember exactly, but it's like a few generations ago they came over from England, but they very much stay within their own kind of community. They've not really integrated. Obviously, Noemi's cousin is Mexican, so they've actually expanded a little bit. You'll see more about that in the story. So yes, the house The vibes of the house, the descriptions is super creepy, like those Gothic vibes. Great atmosphere in this book. And yeah, the family are very strange as well, very, very strange, mysterious. There's like secrets and Noemi has to kind of figure out how to help her cousin. But yeah, great atmosphere. Yeah, I really enjoyed this when I read it, and I definitely recommend. Next, again, one I read last year, and that's The Year of the Witching by Alexis Henderson. And this is actually the first in a series. The second one is not out yet. I can't wait till it does come out because this was so good. This is like it was Goodreads like horror book of 2021, but it definitely has like dark fantasy vibes in it as well. But yeah, no, really enjoyed it. Our main character's name is Emmanuel, and this is set like in the times of like kind of the Salem witch trials. That's the vibe you get from it. And yeah, the atmosphere in this, again, amazing. So yeah, our main kind of character, this is like feels like a feminist horror fantasy novel, I'd say. So yeah, in Bethel, the prophet's word is law. Is like there's like this religion church, but it's not any religion that we have in our world now. It's just it's different. But yes, his word is law, and Emmanuel's very existence is just, yeah. Because her mother had a union with one of the outsiders, and yes, different from who they are. So yeah, she had a relationship with an outsider. So Emmanuel's not like the rest of the people in Bethel, and yeah, so Emmanuel, you know, at the start of this, she's trying her best to kind of like stay straight on narrow, following all the rules, the protocols, like all of that stuff, you know. But there's a mishap and it lands her into the forbidden like forest, like wood, that surrounds Bethel. You're forbidden from going there, and that's where the first prophet apparently went and chased 4 very powerful witches and killed them. So when she's in this wood, their spirits are still lurking there, and they bestow a gift to her, the journal of her dead mother. And yeah, she's like kind of shocked by the stuff she finds there, and it's also this unraveling of stuff that's going on. Yeah, don't want to say too much more, but yes, great, really great atmosphere, really enjoyed it. Yes, great. Next, I want to recommend Horror Store, which I literally read in September. I read it for Chloe Reads Books book club. This is by Grady Hendrix, and this is like horror, but there's mystery. It's a little bit kind of I don't know, like comedy campy. It's not like full on like you're gonna be scared out of your wits. There's some bits that honestly I was a bit like the descriptions, but yeah, it's light as well, hard to explain. But this is the one that looks like the IKEA catalogue, because it's set in this it's set in Orsk Furniture World, which is like a fake it's a fake IKEA store, and they even admit it in the book. Like it says, like, you know, they're trying to be IKEA basically. It is basically IKEA. And yes, every morning the staff arrives and find like broken bookshelves, there's glass, there's like, you know, it's always messy. And yeah, the security cameras haven't revealed nothing, so the store manager is panicking, and to unravel this mystery, he gets 2 employees, and they decide to stay overnight and do a shift and check and see what's going on during the night, why all this stuff is happening, this weird things when they come in. So you have to patrol the empty store and investigate all these strange things going on. And I don't want to say too much more else, but yes, great. I love this idea of the furniture. Also, the start of each chapter, it had like, it's like a page of like, it was an advert for one of the things. It's supposed to be like a description of like furniture, like the shelves or like, you know. And yes, great vibes, and it was really, really fun. Next, I want to recommend The Cottage by Lisa Stone. This is a 2021 release, and it's like a horror thriller mystery book. I read this in September when I was in Sicily, which I know it's not like, it doesn't scream beach read, I know, but it's perfect for this time of year, like October, like going autumn, November even, because I mean, look at the cover. You'll see in the picture here. Look at the cover. It just gives, like, you know, those dark vibes. So yes, it's an isolated cottage, and I do love an isolated setting. I've said this so many times in so many videos. Love an isolated setting. And yeah, so after Jan loses her job and her boyfriend, she's in desperate need of a fresh start. So yes, she ends up finding this opportunity to rent a secluded cottage at the edge of these woods, and also the person who's renting out wants her to take care of the dog as well, because they're going abroad and it's for a certain period of time. So Jan's more than happy to accept. She's really excited. She's like a writer, she wants to do some writing, and she thought it would be a really great, you know, being isolated, because you are a little bit away from the village and she's on her own, and yeah, she thought great. Isolated setting, we know something's going to go wrong here. So very quickly things start to kind of take a dark turn, and at night she hears noises. There's like tappings at the window, and there's someone out there in the garden, and like she doesn't know what's going on. And yes, people don't exactly believe her when she's telling them that things are going on, that there's definitely someone there. But yes, the forest hides many secrets, and she refuses to be scared off. But whatever is outside is not going away, and it soon becomes clear that the nightmare is only just beginning. And this is great. I enjoyed it. The very last section of So Many Months Later, I felt could have been incorporated into the main story. But otherwise, yeah, a really good, creepy vibes, great for autumn, I would say. I then want to recommend a thriller, and that is I'm Traveling Alone. Yes, I know I still have a sticker on there. I'm really bad at removing stickers, okay? So this is like a Scandinavian thriller, which I really enjoy them. They're a lot darker than usual thrillers. And I read the second one, that I Will Always Hunt at Night, last year, and that was incredible, so I also recommend that one. It is like a series, because it is a detective thriller, but like I said, it is dark. So yes, it's set in Norway. In this one, I'm Traveling Alone. The body of a young girl is found hanging from a tree, and the only clue the police have is that there's an airline luggage tag around her neck, and it reads I'm Traveling Alone. So we are following our police inspectors, which is Holger Munch, and he has to assemble a special homicide unit, which means he has to track down his former partner, Mia Kruger. So I definitely recommend reading this in order, because you get, whilst the actual murders in each one, because the third one, which I haven't read it yet, whilst the murders are different, the actual police backstories, I mean, it's not a major part, but I feel it's better to read in order so you know actually like the history of the police officers, our main characters. And yes, but when Mia reviews the case, she finds that there's a thin line carved into the dead girl's finger with the number 1, which is just like, oh, 1? Does that mean there's going to be more? Is there going to be a serial killer? It's amazing. It's great. Love Scandinavian thrillers. The second one, incredible. You need to check them out. Yeah, great for this time of year. Even winter as well, I recommend, because it's, I don't know, you get cold vibes and everything. It's amazing, amazing, amazing. Guys, amazing. Then the next one is Rosemary's Baby, and that's by Ira Levin. This is a horror. It's a little bit of a classic in the kind of horror genre. It was written in the 60s, which actually, things like the pregnancy, I was like, you can't do that. But then I remembered the time it was written at, like, they didn't know certain things, so that's just a little bit observation that I found. But yes, it's a classic one. It follows Rosemary and her husband Guy, and they move. There's an ordinary young couple, and they are in New York, set in New York, and they move into this really nice new apartment. And then while Rosemary ends up getting pregnant, you know, Rosemary's baby, and then their elderly neighbours start taking a weird and strange, and their friends as well, sorry, a weird and strange interest in them, like more than you usually would in someone else's pregnancy that you don't really know that well. And yes, I'm not going to say too much else. I'm going to leave it there. There's some strange going on, and yes, I'll leave it there. I really enjoyed it. I read it during Summerween, and yes, it's short. It's around about 200. It's just over 200 pages, so it's a nice, quick, easy read. Um, then then we have Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. This was my first Riley Sager book. Again, read it during Summerween. Really enjoyed it. It is like a horror, thriller, mystery vibes again. And yes, it follows our main character Maggie, and she returns to the house made famous by her father's best-selling horror memoir. This house, they only lived there for about 3 weeks when she was a child, and then they fled from there. And when her father wrote this book that's really famous, so she returns, and her plan is to do the place up and sell it on. But yeah, she's unraveling this mystery of, was the place really haunted by, like, you know, like stuff? Was the house really haunted as our father claimed? Or are there more kind of like, or was it not? Was he lying? What kind of secrets are lying behind the walls of this house, etc. So yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. Great vibes again, and yeah, really, really good. Recommend, obviously, because this is a recommendation video. Next, I have Sour Candy by Keelan Patrick Burke. It's a horror novella. Read it again, Summerween. Really enjoyed it. It is such a quick read. It's one that you can get done really quickly, so if you're doing any readathons, this is a great one to have on there. At first glance, Phil and his son Adam look like just an ordinary father and son, no different from any other. You know, they go to the park together, they go to museums, they go to the shops, zoos, etc. And yes, they might say that the father's a little bit too accommodating, indulgent, and has a bit of a lack of discipline of the son, because he loses his temper and things. What no one knows is Phil is actually his prisoner, and it's not his son. He only met him a few weeks ago at a chance encounter at a grocery store, and he'd never seen this child in his life before. And I'm going to leave it there, and you can work out, read it and see what the mystery is all about. Like, really good again, and great vibes. Next, I do have another horror novella, and it is Dear Laura by Gemma Amor, and I read this back in March. So yeah, every year on her birthday, Laura receives a letter from a stranger, someone she doesn't know who it comes from, and that person claims to know the whereabouts of her missing friend Bobby. But there's a catch. He'll only tell her what he knows in exchange for something personal of hers. So he asks for something. So Laura begins this kind of weird relationship with this person that's writing to her, like a pen pal. Yeah, so she's like looking for closure. She wants to know what happened to her friend. This has been going on for like years and years and years. But no matter how hard she tries, she cannot escape her corresponder's demands. And the letters keep coming, and as time passes, they have a really big impact on Laura. So yes, it's really good. I'm not gonna say anything more than that. But yes, really interesting, and yeah, quick read again. You can read it in an afternoon. Great one to have on a readathon TBR. Then I have The Only Good Indians, and now I listened to this on audiobook and read the ebook, and it's by Stephen Graham Jones. It's a horror book. So yeah, it was really big last October. A lot of people were speaking about it. I'd never read a book written by an Indigenous author before, so it was a new experience for me. I really enjoyed this one. It is a dark novel of revenge, cultural identity, and the cost of breaking from tradition, and it follows four Indigenous American men, after a disturbing event from their youth puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. Tracked by something bent on revenge, these childhood friends are helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up on them in a violent and vengeful way. And yes, it's really interesting. Again, this has really great vibes. it's a relatively quick read, I'd say, but the audiobook definitely really gave that extra kind of the vibes that I wanted for this book. Then I have Weep Women Weep, and it's by Maria de Blase. Now I got this as an ARC from NetGalley. It just came out in August, end of August. It's horror. I saw that it's marked kind of as young adult, so it's a quiet feminist horror novella, short, quick read, so definitely perfect for kind of spooky season and your TBRs. It will keep you like kind of turning the page. I think the book, it wasn't super fast paced, but it had the right timing and pacing in it. And yes, so the women of Sueño in New Mexico don't know how to live life without sorrows. That's La Lloronia's doing. She roams the waterways looking for the next generation of girls to baptize, filling them with more tears than any woman should have to hold. And there's not much they can do about the weeping women except to avoid walking along the riverbank at night and try to keep their sadness in check. That's what attracts her to them, the pain and the heartache that gets passed down from one generation of women to the other. Mercy and her best friend Sherry have plans to escape until Sherry is caught. Mercy escapes, but she's still left with a mark from La Lloronia. And yeah, we then follow Mercy as she builds her life with that curse following her. Yes, it's really good. Like I said, it's quiet. It's not like super fast paced, but it's a good one. Again, it's another short one, which is great for your TBRs. Then have Bunny, which I read in winter this year, and it's by Mona Awad, and it's a horror novella, and it is the weirdest book I have ever read. Weirdest book I've ever read. Can I tell you what it's about? No. If you look this up, there's a lot of people like, what did I just read? Like, what is it? But in a good way. Like, it's in a good way. Like, there's good vibes, but like, you're like, wait, what just happened in this book? It's really good horror vibes. It's enjoyable, but really, really weird and strange. I definitely recommend it, and if you do read it, let me know. Maybe we could have a chat about it, because it's such a weird book, but great at the same time. Don't ask me how it's possible, but it is. Then I have a little classic for you, and that is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Most people know what this is about. Yeah, it follows our scientist whose creation becomes a monster. What else can I say? It's about 200 pages, but it is small writing, but it's a quick read. Again, great atmosphere. I really enjoyed Mary Shelley's writing, and yeah, it's a classic, you know, of the monster kind of genre of books. Yes, I know the other one is Dracula, which is down at my shelf, so I can't be bothered picking that up, which I didn't like, but I can see why people would like Dracula, so that is another one if you're looking for a classic. Personally, was not a fan of it, but I know there are people that really like it. So yeah. Then to close, I'm closing now. I have a few Kings that I've read here that I enjoyed. I'm not going to go into depth with them because these are well known and most people know their premises. But we have Carrie by Stephen King. First of all, this is like a vintage cover, and don't you just love that? But yes, it's really short, around about 200 pages again, quick read. Yes, classic. All of these, actually, these three are classics. I then have The Shining, and yes, this is one of the horror rainbow ones. But yeah, a classic again. I've never seen any of the films of these, and I need to. I need to try and do that in October. And then we have Misery, which is more a thriller horror than like horror. Again, I really like this cover. Yes, recommend those ones, and that's it. That's a lot of books I've recommended here. I can't even remember how much I've said, but I hope these help you choose books for, you know, upcoming spooky season, or just to read across autumn, because these are fantastic. Let me know if you are going to pick up any of them, or if you have any recommendations for me as well. So thank you, thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one, hopefully. Bye!